Welcome to the first episode of the Naked Truth About podcast. My name is Daniëlle Hellebrand and I'm a keynote speaker, coach and columnist at Better Brains at Work.
And I'm Beverley Wilson-Wünsch. I'm a full-time professor at a private university in Germany. I have worked several years in the hospitality industry and I'm glad to be here with my friend Daniëlle.
And we have our special guest today, Kai Raphael. Kai, so happy that you're here in our show.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we love to talk about you, about all the things you do. And as a technical business administration student, you're an experienced podcast host, experienced podcast producer. You also have a lot of experience in hospitality and training, and we both are looking forward to talk to you today.
Certainly, we are.
Mm-hmm. You know, in our podcast, we want to have true and honest conversations about work and life, and especially why we think hospitality mindset, a benefit mindset, is so important.
Can you what an hospitality mindset? Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Being of service, seeing other people, hearing other people, have good and respectful and honest social interactions.
Oh, cool.
That is what I mean. That's the field I'm studying, and Beverley is also working in that all her life. Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things at the moment, I think, is being of service to other people, being good to other people. And what I also like about our first podcast is that we come together live. We are now here in Vaals.
Yeah, beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place, it is.
Indeed.
And as we all come from different countries, we thought we have to meet at a special place, at a place that represents our diversity and the diversity of the topics we want to talk about. So here we are with Beverley and Kai in Vaals today.
Yes, the trip of 3 hours.
It's a trip of 3 hours, I know.
Well,
Beverley,
and for me, an hour and a half driving from Germany.
Well, but you're recently from Jamaica? Yes.
Well, I'm originally from Jamaica, in fact. That's my home country. I just got back, to be honest with you.
And that was not a 1.5 hour trip?
No, that was 11 hours of flying.
Oh,
but it's good to be here.
Yeah, with the jet lag, but you look fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you that you made it today, Beverley. Yeah, so there we are in Vaals. It's a town at the border of the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. And the interesting thing at this place is the melting pot of more than 70 nationalities. And I think the thing here is that understanding each other takes more than just speaking each other's language. And we're also today at the studio of Mark Beumers. He's a phenomenal musician at Hoeve de Linde in Vaals. And to give you a little bit of a feeling what it looks like over here, we see meadows, we see woods, the sun is shining, we hear birds sing. And I would recommend to check out the website of Hoeve de Linde in our show notes.
First sponsor.
Yeah, it's the first sponsor.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's the most perfect place to meet in person and record our first podcast. And, today we want to tell you all a little bit more about ourselves. As I just said, Kai is our special guest today. Kai, a technical business administration, experienced podcast host, producer, but also a lot of experience in hospitality.
Yeah, a lot. 4 years.
Well...
4 years is quite some time.
In your young life, it's quite some time.
It's 1/8 of my life.
It's 1/8 of your life. So, for me, it's interesting. Tell us a little bit about how do all these things you do come together? Because we want to talk about this hospitality mindset, this benefit mindset, and being of service of others, and why that is so important. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's funny actually because I've worked in the hospitality industry while I was a technical business administration student, and often guests ask, what do you do do you study or do you work full-time? And then I say, while serving them drinks, I study technical business administration. And I always get the same answer, whoa, that's really something different. And I was thinking about this lastly, and the connecting factor is people. I mean, in the first business rule of Business 101 is culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Peter Drucker, isn't it?
Yes, Peter Drucker, indeed.
Indeed.
And it's. I think I've seen this with Mise en Place, the company I worked for in the hospitality industry, and I've seen it at many companies at which I did projects for my study. And I love working with people. I love being that support role in which you or making people's day in the hospitality, or supporting different divisions in a company.
Mm-hmm. You sound so mature, Kai, but you don't look that old. Do you want to?
I get I can I can take off my hat. It's not for the listeners, but I lost my big afro recently. No, but I think it's the position that you honestly say, when I die, I would be happy to know like 1% of this universe.
Amen.
And if you go with that kind of attitude into the world, like I don't know that many things, then you learn a lot.
True indeed.
And I think that's maybe the maturity you mean.
That's right. There is a sense of emotional maturity that I feel. And beginning, I can learn so much from you, although I'm a little bit older chronologically. But when I listen to you, that's a lot of years that you're sounding as though you've been on Earth. Mm-hmm. As I said, but it's so very good to talk to you about some of those issues. Specifically then, how long have you been studying now?
Well, I've been studying for 6 years almost. I started with, I think the best way to start is when I graduated from middle school. And those last 2 years I was searching for what am I going to do. I like the technical subjects, I like science subjects, but I also loved music. At one point in my life, I want to become a helicopter pilot for the military. So I tried that. And you have 7 stages which you have to come, and at the second stage, which outcome is indefinite. I failed. You have to do a flight simulation. I studied as hard as I can, but at the same time, I did my driver's license exam. So driving a car in a plane, who knew, is not the same. So that kind of interfered with each other. So I didn't get that. But yeah, when such outcome is indefinite, the first thing is like, that's a shame, but then it's indefinite, so what else? I wanted to do music school. I ended up, long story short, doing electrical engineering because I could make guitar pedals.
Cool. That's just so cool. That sounds like a Generation Y phenomena, isn't it? Someone who has all the choices and can basically do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
In our age, Daniëlle, we couldn't do that, right?
No, that's right. And love hearing your story. And I think they call that slashies, being a musician / podcast host / these things you do.
Slashies.
And slashies, yeah. And I think that's a wonderful gift, being able to do that.
That's right.
And when we grow up, we sound like two grandmas. But, in our time, Beverley, you studied one thing and you stayed in that. You stick with that.
Stick with it, yes.
So yeah, I love that. And now, in our case, the three of us, it's a little bit of reverse mentoring. Due to our age and experience, we know a few things. Mm-hmm. But in this whole project, Kai was a little bit of a mentor. So this kind of reverse mentoring, I think, is wonderful. It's wonderful.
But you say like you didn't have the choice of everything, but that also comes with the price of you have the choice of everything.
Yeah, of course.
Which can be a bit stressful, in my opinion. Well, sometimes like gives the opportunity to just choose without thinking very well about the choice. And I would never say that I haven't thought very well about the choice to go study electrical engineering, but the first year in college is all right. So now you're on your own, you have to study on your own, and you have a student fraternity. Oh, that's nice. Oh, you can do also a lot of things next to your study. And long story short, the mismatch of priorities a bit. I stopped after a year with electrical engineering, did IT, and that wasn't quite the match. I did half a year of working in hospitality on an island in the Netherlands, Vlieland. And after that, I ended up at technical business administration, and that was the right fit. So it's to have so many choices also give you the responsibility, or like not responsibility, but the opportunity to try everything.
To try everything, that's one thing. And I think if we have too much choices, that's overwhelming, that is stressful.
That's overwhelming.
That's one thing, it's overwhelming. And the other thing is, if you have so many choices, did you choose the right thing, or is there something better out there? It's also, for me, it's I think it can also be a little bit of stressful.
And I think there will always be something better, because we're there are like, I think over 2,000 college studies at a certain level. So and they're still popping up
Yeah.
That's
some new
right.
studies. So
Especially in this era,
yeah.
Yeah.
there's always something new, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you choose one thing, and then next year, there's a new study I really wanted to do. But I see even now in the school systems, there's a shift so that you can do actually the parts of a study you would like to do. And there's still quite a lot of work to do because you can't just change a course. With those European credits, they're quite stern with that, but there's going to change in the college degrees.
And I also think that the world needs that. We need different kinds of view and different kinds of inputs to solve the things we're dealing with at the moment. And, on the other hand, it's never too late to study again. I'm also a little bit more seasoned student. I started study again when I was 44 in a very other direction. And but you are very steady, Beverley. You stayed in the hospitality branch. You did a lot of studies.
I wouldn't say I did a lot of studies, but what I would say is that once I made a choice, I was fairly focused with essentially with the route that I was actually going to go. Where I am from, if you study hospitality, it's a little bit of what I would say not the types of profession that you'd expect people to study. Most people were in my batch, for example, from high school, they were basically lawyers, doctors, or teachers, and that's what people studied.
But those need to eat at the
That's
restaurants.
Right. That's right. And then here I came and I wanted to study hospitality, and my mother would say, well, what's that?
Okay.
But why do you want that, Beverley? You wanted that from an early age, you told me.
Indeed so, because I always wanted to help people. From the outset, I've always believed in the idea that there must be a profession that will allow you to be able to go out there and help people, to make people happy. I would say, and I had at a very, very early stage, I was introduced to the hotel business, where I got a chance to host a number of guests from the United States, especially in Jamaica as a smaller country. We always had guests coming in as tourists, and it was important to sort of show the guests and welcome the guests and give them a place where they can feel comfortable to come back to. And that was essentially the start of my career in the hospitality industry. And I basically think that I have stuck with it to the point where I'm now actually still doing that, where I'm giving back my own experiences and helping people to learn.
Yeah, because you're a professor.
Yes, I am.
And how do you become a professor?
Oh, that was a long journey. That's a whole long story. I think this will need another podcast to actually talk a little bit about that.
Cool.
But I'm glad I made those choices. I started working in the hospitality industry. Then I went on to undergraduate school. Then I went on to doing a master's degree and a second master's. Then I did my PhD. The process of becoming a professor was a fairly long one to become promoted. Essentially, it's a process of publishing and showing that you have some expertise in the area, really. And this is where it is at, I would say. But it's not about me so much, Kai. Well, I think it's a lot more like you. But you can do that. You can follow, that's something to consider.
Like the title of a professor, I admire that. And I've been a long-term student. Like I'm not your regular off-the-hook student in the sense that I now study for 6 years and I'm in my third year of college. So still 1.5 to go. I love learning and I love the study and the knowledge and the experiences you get. I think people tend to forget because a lot of my close friends are now graduates and started working, and it's such a switch on life. I'm 24 years old and I have a good friend of mine is now a father. What that does like in someone's life and how great it is to be a student separate from the free traveling with trains, but also things you can do within a company. Here's a new project, you can sort it out, you can learn from different people. The things you say reverse mentoring, but I always tend to search out when I do a project for a company from school. You search a manager, a financial manager, or someone who has life experience, and I ask them every possible questions. How did you get there? What did you do? And that's so interesting. And I kind of believe that when you lose the student label, then you also kind of lose that dynamic. Let's put it like that.
Well, you can become a lifelong learner. That's also
I aspire to be.
also a good thing.
I just got my master's degree, but I'm a master of nothing and I stay a student of everything. So this learning mindset, I think I'm born with that. So, but I
Can
feel
you
what you mean. I feel what you mean, Kai. I feel what you mean. Having this curiosity and being open in the world. And again, I think that is what the world needs. And the interesting thing is, the three of us met in a kind of a hospitality community.
That's
And
right.
this community, I think there are a lot of fantastic people in there. But I think the three of us made that click because we do different things, but basically we live that hospitality mindset. The way you are kind of mentoring us, leading us in a way, the way I see Beverley do things with her students, going the extra mile and being of service of her people.
if I may comment on that, that little thing of the going the extra mile, doing
Yeah.
just a bit. That's the community where you met. Like is stands for, in my opinion, hospitality is doing the extra step. And that doesn't have to be a big step, but just
Yeah.
the extra step.
Yeah.
And I've found a big reward in doing that step, and I think that that's the difference.
And I think at the end of the day, that is what we people need and what make people happy, being of
Yes.
service to other people. And we see it in our society where there is a lot of burnouts. I mean, if we look at the numbers from the World Health Organization, so
Yes.
many people suffer from depression, burnouts. It has reason. We're not a do-it-yourself paquet. We are not, it's not about me, myself, and I. We are deeply, deeply social creatures and, doing things with each other and for each other. It's not only good for the other person, but it also makes ourselves happy.
Yes, very much so. And then a little anecdote. Yesterday we had it was great weather, and everybody's outside, just as in Netherlands. So whenever the sun shines, everybody's outside. And we were, I believe, at one point with 12 people. All right, does anybody have dinner plans? No? All right, let's cook together. And I cooked for 12 people, and it was just a simple thing. But the what that can do, and all right, I go do groceries, I cook, I even do the dishes. I don't care, and it's not to boast or something, but I do experience the joy of people being glad with the dinner, thanking you, and enjoying what you've made in that sense. And it's just, you could say that's the extra step.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hospitality is indeed a sacred duty, isn't
Yeah.
it? And we were all given that sacred mandate to
Yeah.
offer hospitality to one another without grumbling.
Yeah.
Each of us, whatever we do, we should really make sure that we're always helping each other. That is true, isn't it?
Well, and I think that the hospitality, what you say, it exceeds the hospitality business.
Yeah.
Well, because in my study, technical business administration, hospitality is a skill that will get you far as well. And it just starts from getting coffee, remembering somebody's name. It's
more
there.
about serving each other. It's more about serving
And
each
it's
other.
getting more and more important.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, for years, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, when we had conferences, it was all about procedures and finances and processes, and content. And we knew that soft skills, I don't know why they call it soft skills, they are important skills, they are power skills, they were important, but we didn't give them enough attention, I think. And now we know how unbelievably important it is, because now we talk about soft skills, we talk about empathy, we talk about authenticity, we talk about being of service to each other. That was not a vocabulary, 6, 7, 8 years
That's
ago
right.
on a regular conference. And now we know,
What
is
was
it?
the vocabulary on the regular conference?
Processes. What do we do with
Bottom
content?
line.
What is the bottom line? What are the
Profits.
procedures? What are the profits?
Okay.
That were the things we were talking about. But these human things, we didn't talk about that. We said we think it's important, but at the end of the day, we didn't give it enough attention.
That's
And
right.
now we know. What is a company? A company is made of people. All our colleagues are real people. All our customers are real people. All our whole supply chain are real people. So if you don't know anything about people, if you don't care about people, how can one understand business? Because business is dealing with real people.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. I think as much as profit is not like it in the literature of business management, the profit is a goal for businesses. Business is there,
That's
people
right.
working together to create profit. But I think profit is more of a side effect
Yeah.
than the main goal. Of course, it's a goal. You have to be, you have to have liquidity. You have to have solvability. You have to have an ROI of a few years. And yes, those things are not to be taken lightly. But if you have your culture right, then you will create profit. If you have a business idea that's a bit
I
viable.
agree.
I agree. And there is also research on that because I don't know, in 2017 or 18, HBR did a huge study worldwide.
HBR?
HBR, Harvard Business Review.
Check.
They looked at the numbers of the Standard & Poor's, of the Fortune 500, and they compared the profit from those companies with the best places to be companies. And what is best places to be company? They took it from Glassdoor. Do you remember Glassdoor? It's kind of a TripAdvisor for companies. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, it's kind of, people, employees rate their company. And you can only rate your company if you tell something about yourself. So if you can look through the window, through the glass door of the glass window of a company, you have to also tell a little bit about yourself, where you work, what your salaries,
The
etc.
naked truth.
The naked truth.
That's
Yes,
right,
kind of the
that's
naked
right,
truth.
kind of.
And, they looked at the companies where people said, not everything is perfect, there are some things that can be improved, but it's a good place to work. People first companies. And they looked at the revenues of those people first companies, and what did they see? They outperformance what revenue is concerned. All the other companies where revenue is first.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that, I think, is very interesting.
Has always been, indeed.
But I think that if revenue comes first, you have to make some nasty business decisions
Yeah.
depending on what you do with people. And it can go as easily from no more free coffee, and that in technical companies that's not possible. Your company will go bankrupt in, I think, a half a month with the amount of coffee that's drunk there. But if you have such a cost-focused think of Amazon. It's not nice to work there.
So I hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or where the lunch is taken away,
Yes.
or the time that you need in order to...
That's a really good one, Beverley. Lunch. We have all worked in the hospitality industry. If you feed your crew, they will outperform everyone.
That's right.
That's like one of the bottom lines.
Shall I share a naked truth? One of the reasons why I started studying again and quitted my job was because I worked at a company where I saw what the bonus of the international CEO was, and I have to cut down coffee intake, tea intake for all my people. I could not believe it. I thought we are treated as a resource, not as a source. We are the source of your company.
You haven't mentioned the company, right?
No.
Okay, so can you mention the bonus?
Well,
It was so huge that I thought, oh gosh, on the 2nd of January, he has already earned more than most of us in a whole year. It was something like that.
2nd of
And that
Crazy.
was, I thought,
Crazy.
this is crazy. This is crazy. What am I doing here? We are not treated like a
Equal.
source. We are just a resource.
that is true, and it is a well-known fact that in the hospitality industry, especially, people have always been kind of seen as a necessary evil,
Yeah.
isn't it? But when it comes to giving back, there is really nothing that you...
Okay, but interesting, the people aspect, and now me as the youngster here, with a bit of an eye to the future, do you think that then the hospitality with robots will emerge and will do great things, or do you that the people aspect is so important? Set aside that maybe in the near future you can't even define people from robots.
That's a trick question, I think.
I have an answer to that, but you go first.
I personally think that there is a possibility that robots will take over quite a number of activities in the hospitality industry. I do believe the processes, for example, can be well helped with robots. I don't think robots can necessarily take over what human beings can do.
Okay.
There's that touch that I feel that it doesn't matter what we do, you must really understand that, human beings can never be replaced because of that personal touch, to be honest with you. What do you think, Daniëlle?
I'm absolutely with you. People cannot be replaced, and maybe it's a good thing that robots, take over some procedures, so we can do other things or being more of service. But never ever do I think that we can replace real human beings. To give you an example, during lockdown, I had to be in Amsterdam, and I had to be there very early, so I booked a hotel. The city was like a ghost city. In the hotel, there was no one. And kind of, I felt the emptiness of not having the energy, the loneliness, of not having real people and their energy around us. And I know a few things about this subject. If our neurons fire together, it's through electrical impulses. Mm-hmm. And if I measure all the electrical impulses in my body, in your body, Kai, we can light a light bulb from all that. Right. And we also feel that energy between us.
That's right.
We feel the energy between us. We see little minor cues in the body posture of other people, in our faces, in our voices. So we feel so much of the energy of other people. And 5 times per second, our nervous system checks if it is a good place or it's not so good place. 5 times per second.
Interesting.
So there is so much going on in us, and we so desperately need other people.
We do.
So no way we can replace real human beings with real nervous systems and real flesh and blood.
That's
no
the
way.
truth.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah, that's the absolute truth.
I don't know. I think as well. I always say, like, we all know McDonald's, and they have now such a system. I've worked there also for 6 months. I think it's good to work at McDonald's for your worldview. But the one reason that there's no robots behind there preparing your food is because 15 and 16-year-olds are so cheap. They could change the system on a dime. I promise you. They already have the robots. They already have the processes. But 15 and 16-year-olds are just cheap labor now.
They're cheaper than the robots, are you saying? Perhaps.
Perhaps. Yeah, but it's no, I think you're right. I think you need a human touch in the hospitality industry. But then again, in Asia are a lot of robots already doing hospitality services and delivering food. And maybe in the future, where they are almost identical to humans, they can be company. There are already robotic marriages in Asia.
Oh, so I hear. So I hear.
Mm-hmm. But don't you think, Beverley, from your experience, I think social skills are of the utmost importance, because my experience is that you can learn people a lot, but if they don't have the right attitude, it's going to be difficult. I worked in some places where there was really a toxic environment, and I was afraid, and other people were afraid, and I thought, how much knowledge is going lost here, because people can't think clear when they're afraid. And I thought, maybe one should really hire for DNA and not just for MBA, or a combination of that.
MBA? What, MBA?
MBA, a Master's in Business Administration, as against your DNA.
I mean, both are important, of course.
Both are. I really do think both are important. But just to get back to the point of your DNA, I truly believe attitude is key to the hospitality mindset, indeed. It goes back to the basis of what hospitality truly is. Being kind, being open, being caring, going one extra mile to help others. And that giving spirit, I think, is really what matters. I do know that in the hospitality industry, indeed, I still believe in the fact that friendliness trumps profits, indeed. Yeah. I truly believe that it is important to make sure that your staff, to make sure that your customers are well served. And so in all aspects, I will agree that indeed DNA is important, your DNA. But the type of DNA is what is, I think, is also too crucial. You spoke about being fearful of what's going on around us today. We seem to live in a mad world.
We seem to live in a mad world.
Just the way people drive on the streets, for example. I'm talking about just the basics, the little things. Driving on the streets, forgetting to even give your lights if you're turning left or you're going right. Or whooping your horn, for example, or playing your music too loud, your neighbor. Just that neighborly love is no longer there, I think. And if we don't get back to that mindset, you spoke about the social mindset, and I think it starts from the home.
Yeah.
I think it starts from the home. I think it starts from the schools. I think it starts from your places of social gatherings, essentially, where we've got to get back to that hospitality mindset, I would say.
So you would propose a hospitality class in middle school or something like that?
I think it's a must. I think we've
I
got to
think
get,
too.
yeah, I think it's from the primary schools,
We have
basic schools,
Life
kindergarten.
skills, life skills.
It is. It must go back in the
It's
classroom.
crucial. But you just mentioned the crazy world we live in at the moment. This morning when we arrived here at Mark's place, at Hoeve de Linde, this beautiful place, which was closed for almost 2 years due to the pandemic. And when we came here, we saw a lady sitting outside. And it seems to be she is an Ukrainian lady. And Mark and his wife, Jacqueline, are hosting 2 Ukrainian families. And we, the 3 of us, were part of the emotions of the lady who was communicating with her mobile phone, translating Ukrainian language to us. And we saw the fear and the pain on her face.
She was crying. She was in deep tears.
And then the 3 of us said, "Oh shoot! Now it's really so close. Looking in the eyes,
I'm touched.
And
we were touched. All 3 of us were touched this morning."
Yes, and that's an interesting point you make there, because that's what I've also noticed in different experiences, is that with the mainstream media, I've grown up with television, like 8 o'clock television, that was also your generation, but now we have Instagram, TikTok, and every social media platform. So although we can see everything, I don't think that has connected us that more, because there's so much of everything, both the informative and entertainment industry, but also the nasty stuff like the war and the pandemic and etc.
Yes.
But it's so much that it doesn't strike anymore. But when, as you say, you experience real life something here, then it comes close. It's always a far from your bed show.
It is.
Yeah.
And Ukraine is
2,000
close.
kilometers.
Yeah.
Yes, but then suddenly this lady is right here in our personal
And
space.
then it hits.
And then it becomes real.
Yeah.
Then it becomes real to us indeed.
Yeah. Because that was a touchy moment this morning. So it came so close and so real. And what you're saying, Kai, we used to, just know what's going on in our own village or in our own country. And now through the internet, we know what's going on in the whole world. And we know that our nervous systems are not able to digest so much information. So I think that's then what happens, what you say, you can't process it anymore. And you can't let it in.
No, yeah, and I think that's partially a good thing, because
Yeah.
could you imagine if we could let everything in that's going on right now? But it's when you are aware of that, then it's kind of moves you to have an understanding of, all right, I see this now, and it's you always have to make a choice. I think, am I going to empathize with what I see? Because if we do that with everything that comes down in Instagram, Facebook, or whatever you watch. It's not able to
process.
No,
It's not.
And from life experience, what would your advice be on that to process?
Well, I just wanted to jump in to the comment you made. That is the discussion I always have with Stefan, my life partner. I'm divorced a few years ago, so I'm now in a very beautiful new relationship. So he got to know me now at a more seasoned age. And he said, Daniëlle, you don't have a filter. You need kind of a firewall. And I don't have that. Everything comes in so rough and raw that it doesn't make my life that easy sometimes. And I don't want to go armored through life. I am who I am, but I lack that filter. And another really truth, I'm glad I'm not a young woman at this time of social media with all the comparing things. When I was young, I thought I was too this, too that, not thin enough, I don't have enough fancy clothes, whatever. And now all this, comparing on social media, and you compare your own messy inside with somebody's filtered outside.
Can I make a comment on that?
What are you doing to yourself? Yes.
Because there are two sides to the things to what you said. The first is that's for a woman, yes, true, but also for a man. How many Instagram photos of rich, wealthy men I see it's the same but different, and I see a counter movement on that.
I want to join that movement.
Well, it's
we're part of it already.
I had a kind of a rough start this year because I also had a relationship of 14 months ago. But my girlfriend of the time was I wouldn't say a real feminist because I just don't like the load the word carries. But let's put it like that. And there are enough Instagram accounts which show women with an underpants with period stains and hair on their bodies, and just like, do I need to be ashamed of everything? And I see that kind of content gain more speed. And it's 2022, and now you can be of any gender you like, of any color, or and it's not. And in the Netherlands, we are kind of progressive in that, and we're way beyond there yet. What I see from my surroundings, it's getting more traction and it's getting more open. We have in my student fraternity, we have people with handicaps, people with autism, from every race, gender, and sexual preferences, etc. So I do see that it's becoming
and
more.
I applaud that, because it mustn't be easy for men, having that in my time, being the strong man, being the know-it-all, so to speak. It's also not easy for men. And I applaud that things are going to change now, or are changing.
Well, I don't know. There's sometimes a certain sense of madness, I think, that surrounds us, because where does it stop? On the one hand, I think that we have progressed onto a generation that you can sort of openly tell who you are, what you do. But on the other hand, I think that there are a number of things that just is not really ethical, I think, and it borders on, for example, where recently it was in the middle of Amsterdam where people were in a restaurant and someone just drove by and started shooting on the restaurant. Did you hear that news story? And somehow I feel that there's a kind of a competition as to what is best, or where the best news should come from. So I think that in a sense we are not able to sort of figure what specifically it is that we're going to push, and what are we going to say, well, this is not what I want in my society.
Yeah, but I think you need a healthy compass for that. And it's a cultural thing you're talking about, because
I don't know if it's maybe hospitality. Is it cultural or is it hospitality? I do believe that, or that feeling of care for that brotherly love. That's what I'm talking about. Where you'd say, honestly, I love my brother too much to actually take out a gun and shoot at him, or I love my sister too much to maybe take out a knife and want to do anything dangerous to someone, or I want to make sure that everyone is safe. Take what's going on in the Ukraine, for example. Isn't it brotherly love? That you say, well, I love my brothers and sisters too much to take a bomb and want to bomb them all, and displace people in the whole process. That's kind of what we're talking about. It just seems as though everyone wants to be more in the news, I would say.
One of the things of these times is that the news is so prevalent. I mean, you can get it from anywhere, and it's literally unstoppable.
That's right.
Although the man in Russia does his best to hide it, you couldn't do that. I think here in the Netherlands. I mean, it goes so quick, and worldwide. Like, you have hypes of the Instagram reels, for example, where people do silly dances or do sports. 1 second you do it in the Alps, and within 3 days it's gone worldwide. It's so easy to spread the news, and I think that instead of trying to process that or censor what's coming out, I think you need to start with the people within. And hospitality could be a start of that, but the cultural knowledge and resilience to discern what's the kind of news that I want to
be out there.
Yeah, what I want to
propagate the news you want to push.
Well, to take in.
Yeah.
Everybody pushes. Everybody. That's so easy now with one. If you have a mobile phone, which 90% of the people have, you can push news. I think we need to learn.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think we also didn't learn to handle all this information overflow.
Of
I mean,
course not.
Beverley,
And
you and I,
certainly.
we are the last generation who had a totally analog youth.
That's right.
We are the last
That's right.
generation who grew up without
Damn.
internet. Really, we are the last species.
Sometimes I feel thankful for that, to be honest with you.
It is. And, now a child with a mobile phone in his hand has more information than the CIA in the 80s.
Yeah, we need
It's
to-
amazing. And we need to,
Adapt.
yeah.
We need to adapt our whole school system instead of your library is in your pocket.
Yeah.
The whole world of knowledge is in your pocket. So
Yeah.
then the whole educative system needs to adapt to that. And that's quite a big
Education,
step.
not just education, but the social institutions such as the churches, religious institutions, where
Yes.
they need to get to grips with that.
Yes,
To
that's
say
an
that we
interesting
have an issue
point to say.
here, and we need to ensure that your people, the citizens, members of the organization are well informed, or informed in a way that whatever is being passed on to them is essentially of ethical standard, I would say.
Yes, it is. And you know what? I think that jobs like philosophy are going to be more and more important because we need answers to the complex questions that we have in our world. We just didn't learn to deal with all these devices we have now and all this information overload. I just haven't learned it. And what
I haven't learned it even. Well, I'm starting to learn it. I've grown up with it.
Why?
Z.
Z.
I'm Generation
even.
Z. I'm from 79.
And you still haven't learned it.
Well, no, I'm I will call it the generation in between. It has a name. I will look up later, but
You know what I would call it? The three of us are Generation C, Generation Collaboration. I think as human
I like
beings...
I'm a
we all-
zillennial.
Huh?
A zillennial.
A zillennial.
I'm just in between the millennials and the Gen Z.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, give something a name.
We're Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen Z.
I don't mind being Gen
Connection.
Z. Connection is
Collaboration.
important. Those are the C's.
Yeah.
The
we
three
best-
C's.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting because you say I'm almost happy that I grew up without the analog like. And I just came back from a week off grid. Like I went to a friend in Portugal, stayed in his camper on a place in Peniche. No toilet, no electricity. So your phone is dead within a few days, within a day. And then within 2 days, I got my circadian rhythm, my going up with sunrise and going to bed with sunset. And I think that a full day of climbing and surfing and skating helped with that very much. But it felt so nice to really by default have your phone off. And I came back in the Netherlands and I charged my phone, and instantly you have 1,000 WhatsApp messages and Instagram is there and everything is there again, and you're going back to your old pattern so fast. And I noticed the first night's sleep even that it does so much. And I think I will go a week offline for at least once a year.
I would like to try something like that too.
It's so
I'd probably
nice.
need to do that 2 or 3 times per year. Let's say digital diet, for example.
Detox.
Or
Yeah,
detox.
a digital diet. But on the other hand, I couldn't have done the things I do without the internet. I couldn't have studied at the University of Chicago as a mother
You've studied at the University of Chicago.
online.
Oh, okay. Online.
There I
Cool.
did interpersonal,
yes.
and that wouldn't have been possible in an analog time.
There's
So
no doubt.
and the information I find on the internet, there are so many interesting things, but I've got to learn where do I put my attention, and what do I leave at the door. So I'm so much work in progress.
There's
I can
just
tell
so
you.
much to talk about. But thank you, Kai. Thank you for being here. It was
Yes,
really good to
thank you
talk
for
to
having
you.
me.
I've learned so much from you, Generation Zenillial.
Zillennial.
Zenillial. I have to get into pronouncing even that new term. I will have to say, but
No,
it was
well, you
great.
Thank you so much, Kai,
Yes.
for being our first
Glad to
special
be
guest. And thank you all for listening. Have a good week, you all, and be kind. The world needs a hospitality mindset,
And that's the naked truth.
and that's the naked truth.